Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brody, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from the Mandalorian Chapter 15, The Believer. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where this piece of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. With that said, we have a special announcement, something to talk about before we get going with this episode.
We do?
It's a special week.
It is a special week.
It is.
For folks like ourselves.
Yes.
What is this week?
It is Star Wars Podcast, day, but we're celebrating it this week.
The whole week.
Because
Yes.
it was on the 7th.
The 7th,
Star Wars
February
Podcast
7th, marks the 24th anniversary of Jedi Talk, which is the very first Star Wars related podcast, which premiered February 7th, 1999.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
I think we were probably all in kindergarten.
I was
if not
starting-
even in kindergarten.
Basically.
Yeah. I was starting Jedi Talk back then.
Yeah.
And
What a time.
They are the grandmasters of Star Wars podcasts.
Thank you for trailblazing
yes.
this way. And now there are hundreds of Star Wars podcasts out there.
I wonder, is Jedi Talk still going?
Yeah.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Isn't that crazy?
Good for them.
And
I
it's
would
been
love to
really
have them
cool
on as guests.
as you guys know, we are just a little over a year and we have surpassed 70 episodes now,
Yeah.
which is a big deal.
Crazy.
And it's so cool to see how many other Star Wars podcasts there are, because there are a lot,
A lot.
if you believe it. But only one of them focuses on officially ranking every
All of it.
single
The
piece of Star Wars
numbers.
content, and that's us.
We like the numbers.
We do.
But there
like
are a
numbers.
lot of other good Star Wars shows out there. So you can give Star Wars Pod Day a follow and dip your toes in some other content.
Yep.
But don't leave home. Don't stray too far from home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay where it's safe. Stay with the numbers.
Swim in comfortable waters.
Yeah. Is that like everything, like every movie we've ever watched taught us to like not do? Go out, be adventurous. We're just like, no, stay here, stay safe.
Stay.
We don't
Don't
have
leave.
many followers. Don't go.
We appreciate you.
We love you. And we know exactly who all of you are.
You'll each get a holiday gift basket from us because...
Okay, don't go over promising stuff. This is still self-funded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Christian.
in other good Star Wars news that we got this week, a couple more guests were announced for Star Wars Celebration, including Rosario Dawson, which I think we
Yes.
all were kind of figuring she had to be there. But I'm also excited. My two mommies are also going to be there, which are, can you guess who they are?
Hera's going to be there?
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, hold on
What?
now. Hold on.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Maybe. No, actually, Gwendolyn Christie,
Oh, nice.
Captain
Really?
Phasma,
Huh.
and Ming-Na Wen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might have to be in
Oh, that would
line.
be
Yeah.
so cool to get something signed.
I'm gonna go try to see. Oh, I'm gonna go try to see if I can find my old VHS of Mulan from
Ah,
back in the day.
amazing.
The moment.
Icon.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm so
cool.
excited to
I've
see
got
her.
Oh, I should bring my Phasma mug.
Oh, there
Get
you
her to
go.
sign that too.
Man, I didn't even know they made Phasma mugs.
They're pretty cool.
I'm
looking.
surprised she has any merch. Yeah,
I was about to say, like, I was about-
ugh.
Phasma. That's a whole new subject.
Yeah.
That-
We loved Phasma and then done dirty.
you think so?
Oh,
I think we all think so.
I think she was given too much screen time.
Wow.
I just feel like
I think you should have just taken her out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
take her out of it.
Then
She was
look
given
like
too much.
No.
I'm with you.
False.
I'm with you. Just don't
You know
even
what
have
we
the
should
character.
do?
Pointless.
Before we say something rash, we should get to the Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, the whole reason
Well, we
that
have
we're here
other
today.
rash things to talk about. Who wants to talk about what the episode was all about? Amanda, Christian, I don't know who like.
I can
preps
do
for
it.
these
Amanda's
anymore.
usually pretty good.
I can
at
do
that.
it.
Okay.
So in this episode, we're on Chapter 15, The Believer, the penultimate episode to Season 2 of The Mandalorian. We open up with Cara Dune releasing Migs Mayfield, played by Bill Burr, as you'll remember from Season 1, from prison to help infiltrate an Imperial Rhydonium factor base. The Mandalorian and Mayfield hijack a transport and disguise themselves as stormtroopers. After being attacked by pirates and saved by a TIE fighter, the Mandalorian must reveal his face to obtain the data on Moff Gideon's location.
What a freaking beautiful
It was
episode.
very entertaining.
There was a lot happening in this episode, not even mentioned in my summary, because we had Cara Dune, we had Fennec, we had Boba, we had Mayfield and Mando. It was just like a really stacked cast this episode.
Yeah.
This immersive universe score, I don't know how it's not a 5. There's so much Star Wars, like true Star Wars baked into this. And just saying it out loud, I gave it a 4.6. I'm sorry. Give it a 5. You have a seismic charge.
Whoa.
That's true. There is a seismic charge.
There is a seismic charge,
I feel like that's an
which is
automatic, like 4.
Well, think about it. You have the seismic charge in part of this episode with the slave one, which is awesome, which is the first time we've seen Boba's version of the slave one use it.
Very cool to see the interior of that ship.
Interior, as everything's kind of like
Yes.
turning around like a
Yes.
clock. Super cool. You see Migs Mayfield. He's over here doing, I guess, taking apart TIE fighters, and you see all these like old, Imperial tech equipment, machinery, all that stuff. You're seeing all of this in this episode that ties in the prequels and the originals, and it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool to see. The stormtroopers, for the first time, you just see them as just folks who have jobs. That's about it. Just like everybody else.
And that was a cool part of this episode where they were seen as like the savior in this certain era. Like when the TIE fighters come in and the troopers come out, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, how should I feel? You know.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that like
That was a cool
a
moment.
TIE fighter saved them?
Yeah.
Like, can't say that's ever happened
For
before.
once, you're like, yeah. I mean,
Yay. Whoa.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, wait, who should we be rooting for here? This is it's kind of weird.
But that I think that was written well, where it wrapped up kind of Mayfield's monologue or his little exposition of, good and bad. It's nuance. It's not so black and white, and kind of pressing on or irritating Mando with his questions of his religion.
I never remember his character's name because he really just plays himself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And he's so good.
It's
Like,
a convincing character.
I'm surprised he
in
doesn't
the
do more
galaxy.
acting.
I know. I'm telling you, he's a top 10 Star Wars character. I said it before. He really
that's right.
is.
You did
He
say
really is. He
Now
sells
let's go all the way back to the beginning then, where we first open up on him working in this like scrap yard.
that. Yeah.
Which, going to the immersive universe, that alone was really cool to see in person. Like,
Yeah.
just understanding how kind of the laws are distributed and what punishment looks like, and they still had droids that were enforcing it.
Yeah.
A fun fact about that scene is that Phil Tippett and his team used stop motion animation for the scrap walkers shown in the background of the chop fields.
I was gonna say those scrap walkers look cool.
Yep.
And they reminded me of
Yeah.
were they the same scrap walker in, you remember that episode with Bo-Katan that we reviewed?
Oh, yeah, when they're on
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the fish people.
When they brought Frog Lady back
Yeah.
It's going to bother me
in the
so much.
background. It looked like the same scrapper, the AT-AT scrapper or whatever.
Yeah.
But those were cool. And yeah, it was a great way to set the moon.
Was that Mon Calamar?
No, I think that
no.
place is underwater.
Okay.
I don't know what that place was called in the episode that we're referring.
Okay.
I think the third one of this season, I think.
All right.
But no, that was cool. It was good setting. Cara Dune comes in. I've got a job for you.
Oh, and I love seeing like Cara Dune and Fennec kind of
Yeah.
work together side by side, both
Back to
being just
back
badass
rifling.
women.
Oh, that was
Sniping.
so cool.
Yeah.
And when Cara Dune grabbed the two stormtroopers and just like clashed their heads together, like I bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, she's actually like you see some people, like some like celebrities who are maybe they're kind of skinny or maybe they're toned, but they're not throwing bodies around. But Boba and Cara Dune, I'm like, people are getting wrecked.
Yeah.
Like those are some bulls right there.
Yeah. And sorry to keep talking about the previous episode, but that Sasha Banks also fighter, wrestler, whatnot. So like,
I didn't know
season
that.
2 went all out, for Mando and the fighters.
Nice.
Cara Dune cracking skulls.
I also liked that. I feel like it's easy to pit two female characters that are similar to each other against one another, or like have them trying to one up or push one of them down. And I just wanted to bring up that, they aren't like that, which is nice.
An alliance was forged.
Yeah. They're both wanted women.
They're both, well, is Cara Dune wanted still?
Well, I don't think she's,
she's marshal.
By the Empire.
The Empire would still love to see her.
Oh, and speaking of faces they'd love to see, I loved that line. Again, immersive universe here, tying in when they're like, well, yeah, basically, come on, Boba, you go in and do. He's like, let's just say they might recognize my face.
Yeah.
I loved
Cheeky.
it. I loved it. That, I think, is my favorite Boba Fett line ever.
That one.
It was charming.
I love it. There's some personality there.
I feel like this episode just really shows how the series has found its stride.
Yeah.
Like, really pumping on all cylinders. The story got high marks from me, and it got low marks from Christian, which I'm really desperate to hear.
Yeah, I can't wait.
But I do want to say that we go all over the place. We start off picking up Mayfield, then we get to the planet that we're on, and they have to decide who's going to go in, and Mando has to do it because there's nobody else that can. And then they get robbed, or they have the pirates coming, and then they're inside.
Yeah. There's
a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. And I did enjoy this episode. I'd watch it again.
So why did you hate the story?
Immediately after watching it and objectively looking at it, I thought the strengths were more so the immersive universe and the characters. And I saw it more as a filler, not complete filler episode, but the story is they're going in to retrieve the coordinates just so they can get Grogu, right? Yep. Simple mission, in and out. There's really, compared to the previous episode's story, I don't think it was as much or plot furthering, but doesn't mean it wasn't enjoyable. I still enjoyed it, but other than that, I was focusing more, I think where it shined was character development for Mayfield specifically. Mm-hmm. And then we're just getting all the characters that we like in this one. And then the immersive universe for that. I think that's where it kind of sumped back into that traditional filler where we have higher immersive universe and the story is suffering more so because of that.
Yeah.
In my view, that's kind of how I saw this one.
Oh, but the characters.
Yeah.
That was my highest scoring category, I believe.
But that's the thing for me. I gave the characters a 5 out of 5, and you gave them a 3.8. My goodness, man. I don't know what you're looking for in Star Wars.
3.8.
Man, you just got to go on a whole other show. Talk about golf or something. I don't know. But Star Wars is not your thing. If you don't like this.
I do like it. It was just weird objectively ranking it.
3.8.
So tell us what you loved about the characters.
Yeah, for all of Star Wars, why is this cream of the crop perfect? All of Star Wars.
All the small stuff I love. I actually really did appreciate Cara Dune's character this episode. I loved how there's just little things like Mando gave her his fortune and said, take care of this. That's crazy how much he trusts her.
Well, they've been through a lot together.
Still. The amount anyone could do with all that Beskar. And she's just he's no problem trusting her with it. That's awesome. Says a lot about the relationship and how far he's come from being this solo guy, no community, no anything, Lone Ranger. Now he's got this ragtag group that he just wholeheartedly believes in. Ming-Na Wen's character, Fennec Shan, she was fine, didn't have a whole lot of dialogue, but she still looked cool, sniping and everything. Loved Boba Fett's few lines and just looking cool. Didn't offer a whole lot outside of that besides some things there. Watching him do the seismic charges again against the TIE fighters are cool. Those are all little things about each character. But what I loved was how much Bill Burr just exposes Mando as just this big fraud. At the end of the day, when push comes to shove and people get messy, everyone's got their lines, and then people budge.
Yep.
People make adjustments. You really find what someone's made out of in those situations. And he called it, and Mando was all bothered by it. And then you go into that, and we're near the best scene of the entire episode. I don't think anyone's questioning this. When Mayfield is sitting across from whoever that commanding officer was.
Yeah, I forget.
And you really start seeing the Empire again. It's changing the view of them. Everyone there is pretty much just guys with jobs. And they further talk about that with Operation Cinder, where he kind of gets really, Bill Burr gets all upset, understandably. And that commanding officer's like, oh, they died for a good cause to the Empire. Just showcasing even their own stormtroopers. They're just cannon fodder to these guys. They don't care. All these other people are like, well, what about their jobs? What about their families? What about those people? They didn't care. Which kind of helps showcase why they're so poorly trained. Why they can't hit the broadside of a barn.
They don't care to train them.
What they do, they treat them like just, again, there's just like they were good at shooting down the pirates. Yeah, they're an obstacle to this thing. There's enough of you, even if you're poorly trained. Who cares about you as a human? You're a part of this thing. And so it's like, oh, okay. The bad Imperial people are probably more often than not those in power. Got it. Highlighted that. In that engagement, that sort of like whatever PTSD he was having, that interaction, I did a little bit of research on this. There were folks who, and I am not one, I did not relate to this emotion, but there were a lot of folks who had been served in the military, whether it be Marines, Army, whatever, and said, yeah, they've experienced similar emotions. And by watching that scene, like, would totally buy someone acting in that way, and just something just deep that just, I don't know. This one guy was the guy that, told everyone to pull the trigger on Operation Cinder. He's sitting right there glorifying himself. It all served nothing mattered to him but elevating himself and causing harm for other people. So Bill Burr put an end to it. That was amazing. It was so human.
Yeah.
And I can't
It
say
was definitely the most realistic part of this episode.
It was the heaviest.
It really took realism in that.
Oh yeah, it was. So that's my long-winded rant to say. There's very few times outside of Andor that Star Wars had ever done that before and connected with you on. Was that immoral? He murdered somebody. Was it good? Was it bad? It just was. And that was a little bit before its time, before Andor, and I just loved what that was about. It got messy. He made a decision, and everyone had to live with it. So. They nailed it this episode with the characters.
Yeah, and then how he just snaps and kills him, and then they have to battle their way all the way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. What did you think, Amanda?
Of the characters?
Characters and story.
I like the how we kind of get to see Mandalorian, who we know. Has his name been revealed as Din? Yeah, at this point.
Yeah, I think in season 1 it was revealed.
So yeah, I keep saying Mando because I don't want to throw people off. But yeah, when he has to take off his mask, which we did see in season 1, but here he actually has to expose himself.
Yeah.
Not just around the comfort of people that he knows, but to the enemy. And it's funny to see him kind of like a deer in headlights. And he definitely gets caught. Yeah, his hearing's not so good. That was Bill's great improv. It felt like a very natural thing for him to say. It almost didn't even feel like it was part of the script,
Yeah.
But it was a really, I felt fear in Din's eyes when he was like, crap, what do I do or say or don't say?
Yeah.
He's crippled.
And we've missed that so much. I talked about it last week, how I really just want to be able to see his face.
Yep.
And get that emotion behind him. And even though his emotion was mostly blank and just trying to be observant and not screw anything up, it added so much to the screen.
Yeah. I will say, I really didn't want to see his face this week, and it's because of you.
What? Oh.
For anyone who hasn't watched Game of Thrones, I'm one of those people that's never seen it, and Amanda said there's a great scene from Game of Thrones you should see involving Pedro Pascal's face. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but if you know, you know.
I showed him, just the one scene that you think of when you think of Pedro Pascal.
And now I saw his face, and I immediately thought of that scene. I was like,
scarred us for life. We'll never forget.
And, but in that episode that you showed us, he really showcases his talent with a spear.
Exactly.
And that was in this episode. That amazing fight scene on the vehicle, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Where he's got that. He runs out of bullets.
And he's got to get crafty.
Yeah.
Good choreography. Speaking of
Great
that fight
choreography.
scene, but before that, Star Wars Podcast Day, welcome. We were just talking about that and you and all of that.
That and you.
We're talking about that and you.
Our whole spiel at the beginning. There's a whole, and Jeffrey Miller. There's no way you haven't seen GOT, OMG.
Have you seen it, Christian?
I haven't, no.
Wow, I have.
I mean, I've seen that now. But
You've seen it. I was like, and that was their first introduction to Game of Thrones, and I feel like that's a pretty good way to be introduced to it. It's
Scarring.
pretty, on brand.
Traumatic.
For the show.
I was not emotionally ready for that at all.
It's jarring.
But you know what I was emotionally ready for? Bill Burr's lack of emotional self-control in this episode.
Yeah,
When he
that's
goes
a good
guns
point.
a-blazing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then he hits that nice sniper shot, blows it all up.
Vindication and vengeance
And they
all
tie
right
that
there.
early in the episode. You say you don't like the story, but early on they just say, like, at the end of the day, he's calling out Mando. Talking about, it's all, as my point of view, as long as you can do whatever you do and find a way to sleep at night, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
And they
Doing better
tie,
than most people, I think is what he says.
See, and I think that's great. I just attribute that to the character development, though, that category. I don't think it enhances the story score for this, in my opinion. But we should talk about the technical aspects. I loved the change of scenery in this episode.
Yep.
I remember the first time watching it, too. Whenever it came out, was that a couple years ago, over a year ago? And I just love the forestry, the luscious, I don't know, I thought the scenery looked great. But then when the pirates come in, you could definitely tell, this is definitely TV budget stuff, where they're just coming in on the little scooter. And it kind of took me out of it in those scenes, but the choreography was great.
Did it give you Robert Rodriguez vibes?
No, but we have a great previous episode on all of that. Did it give you Rodriguez vibe? This one directed by Rick. I'm blanking on his last name. Starts with an F.
Famuyiwa?
Yes.
okay, yeah, he's awesome.
I think he did a good job, like directing it, though.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. So characters in immersive universe was kind of where this really resonated, and I liked that the tank rollers were called Juggernaut, like Juggernaut 5. Juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut!
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, I still think your score is insane for this episode. 66%, bro.
66.8.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That is literally a D, dude.
I mean, it's fun action.
Okay,
characters-
just got here. Hey, KG.
KG, what's up?
KG, you missed. You're jumping in on a fight right now. Christian and I were.
You gave characters.
Mommy and Daddy are having issues. We're having issues.
A perfect score.
Yes,
Star Wars.
How are you
Perfect score.
on multiple things here? Listen, how are you telling me right here, right now, that you want to give Immersive Universe a 3.9, which isn't even an 80? That's one thing. That's crazy in of itself.
That's a good score.
The characters are a 3.8.
Good score.
No, that's still not even an 80. Man,
Above average.
What do you want from your characters that Bill Burr didn't give you?
Well, I think the one character, not even the main protagonist, like does he ever show up again in this season?
Mayfield?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so it was a great episode for him. I think the others were just there and present.
Oh,
I
so
think
Din
they're just-
Djarin's lines at the end did nothing for you, where he's like, "You have something I want."
Yes, I'm so glad
that
you
was a
said
good
it.
slapback.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, but it
good
didn't do
slapback.
much for you.
Well, it was a good slapback. I don't know if it did much for his character.
Everything about him took
You know,
off
it's
his
more
helmet.
like an insult.
He was naked to the world. He was trying to block and just all sorts of things that he could do with his Beskar that
Yeah.
just wasn't working.
Yeah,
And he was finding ways.
Those
He was
little
improvising.
moments, they contribute to the 3.8. So those two contribute to the 3.8. I really don't know what else, what other characters you're gonna
What do you
contribute
want?
into that.
What do you actually want? I'm convinced, like, someone out there, I don't know if it was KG, Jeffrey Miller, somebody paid job. Well, it couldn't be, I don't know, it couldn't be our followers, because our followers, I think, so far have been pretty in the field of loving all things Mando Season 2. So, Christian, someone's buying you out, because there's no way this is a 66%. Jeffrey Miller just says 89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So
I said
that's
92.
funny. Nobody believes Rotten Tomatoes.
That's true. That's why we started this podcast.
Like, why are we here?
No, what's great about Duel of the Ranks is that we all have different opinions. And I know this hurts your feelings, Brody, but it's not personal.
It's the best episode of The Mandalorian, I think.
That's a great take.
Besides Cobb Vanth's episode.
So is Cobb Vance better than this one?
It tells a more traditional story, but this one's so much more human, and
We should-
I would take this
Let
one
me
over
pull
that.
We should pull up Brody's scores on the Cobb Vanth episode.
I would take this one over that one. Yeah.
The Marshall, he gave a 92.8.
And I said 92.4.
That
Wow, I'm
pretty
really in
much
line.
matches, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty in line with those two things.
Didn't beat it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, comment section? Was Christian too harsh? Is this a terrible episode? At a 66.8%?
KG loves this episode.
Yep.
And won a Migs Mayfield action figure? What?
That would be cool to see.
That is cool.
That is cool. Jeff, it's not personal. Meanwhile, that's very true.
But if you talked about
Robert Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez last week, it was personal.
Oh, this is how we need to meme this. It's when Mayfield is talking to his former superior officer. We'll just Photoshop Brody talking to Robert Rodriguez.
He's like just
That got
getting more
dark.
frustrated.
That got
Oh,
really
man.
dark. I wouldn't shoot anyone, much less Robert Rodriguez, who gave us the best Boba Fett scene of all time. Just don't give him a show. That's all I'm saying. He shouldn't be, as I said, he shouldn't be allowed to direct Star Wars again. I'm thankful he gave us the best Boba Fett we've ever seen, but he also gave us the worst. So he should be done. He had his reign. That's it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Oh, KG. All right. Well, that basically, I think we did a really good job with this part of the episode.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the overall score?
Oh, after you tanked
The
it,
cumulative-
it's a 79.87. And just so the audience knows, if Christian wasn't
that's quite
here,
generous.
it would have been an 86.4. So you,
Which 66%.
But Christian is an integral part of this.
he is an integral part of this, and I love him. Just right now, he's
No, he doesn't. But it's okay. I can take it. I honestly think a 66% isn't a terrible score. It's more of like it's like, yeah, it wasn't a waste of time. It was fun to watch, but I didn't see it as like crucial to The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
When you think of The Mandalorian, you don't think of this episode specifically.
I think that is a fair summary of your opinion.
Thank you, Amanda.
I like that. I believe that you believe that. Oh, well, that's this part of the episode. There's nothing else. Christian, you think what you think, and I've got to live with that. And with
Yeah.
you in Europe for a month. So
That'll be a whole nother story.
his opinion will change.
You can love it. I think this is a great one to love.
And I love that for
All
me.
the forestry, the
I love that for
juggernauts,
you too.
the droid.
I'm still stunned that you think what you think. I was like, everyone agrees this is like the one of the best episodes of Mando, but
But then we know
Everyone?
something happens next week.
I like this one more,
Really?
without a doubt.
I can't wait to rewatch the next week's episode.
Yeah, I've only seen it that one time.
Yeah, I've only seen all these that one time, and now we're going through these for my second
I will
time.
say, I told Amanda this earlier. this is really getting me excited for Star Wars again. I wasn't after Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, but having watched Andor, which warmed me back up, and watching this, remembering how good this season was, I'm actually very, very excited for Mando Season 3, which I think this is the first time I've ever said that on this show.
Yeah. This has me excited, but the trailer, as we talked about, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I was a little mid on it. I felt like there was some really like cheap CGI work in some of it, and it really took me out of it. Like I remember the like Scalacious Crumb monkey that he looked like very CGI, and then there was a scene of someone like in like a car at Coruscant and was like flying, but like his hair wasn't moving, and it just looked like it was a total green screen. And I was like, like maybe don't show those in the trailer.
I gotcha.
And also, I'm not sure how they're going to like just pick up and be like, oh yeah, Grogu's back. If you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, you have to like somehow bridge that, because not everybody's gonna watch it.
Yeah. Oh, there's some fun trivia with this episode too that I'm looking up like right in this moment. Did you know that when Mayfield tells, I guess the guy,
Valen Hess,
as he's disguised the Mandalorian, they have to leave to file TPS reports, which is a nod to the TPS reports completed and filed, made famous by Office Space.
Fantastic.
Talking about the drudgery of it. So I love that. And you say the story was weak.
You call that
I don't
part
think
of the
that
story?
was like really the turning point.
I think we need to bump it up to a 5. Wow, but this, you gotta love like looking at the trivia here. I mean, we're not gonna.
Hey, no, I have a trivia question for later, so we can't go too far into that.
It's just insane to me how much they bake in to these episodes. Like how much
Lore?
It just goes right, not just lore, but like this was about Office Space. And maybe there is Office Space lore out there.
Oh, yeah.
Staplers galore. But
I do need you to come in and work on Saturday.
that'd be great. Yeah, but there's so much. And I just love it. I just love looking up all these things that they just find ways to just pepper into that. Yeah, overall, this was a fantastic episode. Very sad by its final score, but I gotta live with that. That's my cross to bear in this instance. So, all right, with that said, let's go into Hot Takes segment and see what else Christian has to say.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is Hot Takes time. Now, Christian,
Oh, yes.
I'm not trying to pick on you tonight, man.
I don't know. It sounds like it.
And I'm sorry.
It's fine.
You know, I got nothing but love for you, man, but I'm just sitting here confused. But you know what?
Get into the battle ring.
Let's just jump into this for a second.
Okay.
This is by far, I would say, I would watch this episode of Mandalorian over most of the Star Wars movies.
Whoa.
And I know you hate it.
I call BS.
I don't hate it.
You call BS?
66%
Yeah, dude,
is a
it's like
good
40
score.
minutes long. You're gonna watch a 40-minute thing
right,
over and over and over and over again.
Well, I don't watch any of them over and over and over again, but I'd watch it over Solo.
Oh. Hot
That's
take right
personal.
there.
I would watch it over The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
I would watch it over The Last Jedi.
Wow.
Easily. I would watch it over The Phantom Menace.
Oh, come
Okay,
on.
that's
man.
easy.
Now I just know you're lying.
I'd watch paint dry over the
That's all different story.
The ones I wouldn't watch, I would watch Attack of the Clones over this, Revenge of the Sith.
Am I the only one here who loves Phantom Menace?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd watch Force Awakens over it.
That's the other thing. I really enjoy and love Phantom Menace. I don't give it a Citizen Kane type score. Right?
I know this.
That's
well, you
where-
would be delusional if you did.
Yes. And that's why I have you here to call me out on delusion. But this isn't delusion. Honest, like assigning a 66.8% to this one. It's not a terrible score. It's worth your time. Not terribly rewatchable again and again and again, but it's fun. There's nothing insanely wrong with it.
I would watch it over for sure half the movies. I just listed half of them that I'd watch this over.
Which I am surprised you would watch it over half those movies.
I really would.
That's okay.
I believe him when he says that.
I really mean it. Like,
I mean,
you
when you
really
look
need to
at-
know how much I love Bill Burr.
I honestly think that has clouded your judgment.
And I love Tamara Morrison.
Yeah.
So,
That
like,
is also clouded
Clouded your judgment.
and when they were both, I thought about this. I was like, wow. When his helmet was off, I was like, these two are in the same room. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it.
Couldn't take it.
My heart was just so happy
Aw.
in that moment.
I did love seeing Boba Fett pilot like a boss.
Yes.
He knew how to pilot the slave one.
His ship.
It so was.
So is there a hot take in your
Yeah.
rant?
I just said I'd watch it over half the movies.
Okay.
It is a
Or at
hot
I
least
think
take.
half
that's a hot take. I think
I
that's
agree it's a hot take.
I think that's a hot
But
take.
do I agree or disagree with it?
Yeah, I very
Just
disagree.
think about half the movies.
Yeah, I disagree with it.
Would
Very
you
much
watch this or A New Hope? We're going to break this down. See, let's think about it.
I would watch A New Hope.
All right.
I would. I bet. Yeah, Christian didn't think I was going to say that because I famously don't really.
I
care
was
for A New Hope.
honestly not knowing what you were going to say.
I would say for me, I would watch A New Hope over this.
You would?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you were just trying to frame me.
Try to frame both of them.
All right, well, I guess that's a bad take.
No.
I got a bad feeling about this hunter.
I was trying to save you, man. It's a good hot take. I just disagree. KG, and I agree, yeah. It's easier to watch an episode of TV more than a whole movie.
Especially the movies I listed.
I disagree. I watch The Last Jedi like it's 20 minutes long. It's my like chicken soup for.
You do think of it that way, which is interesting because most people, it's like a lot to wrap around. And you're just like, this is
I love death. I'm always like, yeah, I just want to be cozy and watch something traumatic and like existential. Yeah.
You're going to be like the one person at my funeral that's like, well, maybe there'll be a lot of people clapping and happy. I don't know.
I've actually joked. No, I've actually joked that at my funeral, I want someone to give a eulogy that is just an essay on why The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie, and everyone is forced to sit through it.
Oh, man.
It is my last wish.
Funerals. What a great subject.
If they do like some form of like, what is it, the live orchestral thing, I will go to that with you and Jake.
Thank
If they
you.
do that, like, I will support you in that. I like the film. It's not a chicken soup film for me, but
Julian Lopez, New Hope for sure. Fantastic. Welcome to the club. I would say, to get back, and we've talked about this before, TV and episodes, like, I would rather a great movie than an entertaining episode of TV. And here's why I like Star Wars in the grand operatic epic that it started out with. And so I love that elation of that nostalgia too. And The Mandalorian is doing something cool, tapping into the tone of like a space western and good action, and it's serialized. But I think when you take away from the grand epic space opera, it starts losing some points from me. But my hot take is, even though like I really enjoy this episode, I'll watch it again. I enjoy it. I think it's chiefly more filler than substance, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have substance at all. But I would say it's chiefly more filler, like like double stuff Oreo type, more filler.
You're calling this episode soft.
In terms of, like it doesn't have the grand operatic, it doesn't have the, like, very progression of story, but it does have good moments of, like, that realism with when he's talking with his former commander, Hess. Good moment.
So, all right, let's disagree. all I heard was this episode is a double stuff Oreo.
I disagree that it's filler too. Like, I think that, like, you were kind of talking about how the opening line, or like the opening stuff that Bill Burr talks about as far as like being able to sleep at night and that coming back around, and then how Mando kind of is out to get revenge with his last statement to Moff Gideon. He's like, you have something I want, and don't underestimate how much, what does he say? I love it. I don't know. He says something super protective, and that was like really poetic.
He means more to me than you'll ever know.
Yes. And just because like that was connected to something last season, and they were able to write it back in this way to like be more of like a I'm coming after you, is so eerie and so poetic, and I loved that so much. So I'm going to disagree.
All right. Fair?
And even the comments don't agree that it's filler. And you know who really? If we had Pod ones here tonight, man, they would.
Don't say the F word.
That's the thing. I enjoy filler episodes, and it's not bad to be filler.
All right.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect that it's Slave One dropping the seismic charge.
That is my favorite of all of our sound bites.
It is a beautiful sound.
Anytime you get a seismic charge, and tonight we've got a lot of them, we don't really Roger ourselves anymore. That's kind of
At least we're still cranking out
Speak
the
for
hot
yourself.
takes.
What's your take, Amanda?
Oh, no, don't go into that now. Come on. Let's see. Do I have a hot take? Okay, here's my hot take. That I'm not even going to preface it. I think Bill Burr should get his own Star Wars spinoff show. Now that he is a free man and he has no identity, like his crimes have been forgiven, he is assumed dead. And he is just a crafty dude and has a nice, sharp, adult-style humor. I think give Rangers of the New Republic, fill that slot with a Bill Burr.
He just did it.
No discussion needed.
I'm kidding. Christian, you get a voice too.
Oh, well, I have nothing against Bill Burr, and I think they could certainly make that work. I think that would be successful. I'm personally more so like, man, another spin-off show of a character origin story. I'm like, I think we should just really like put
Retire
those
that.
to bed. You
Yeah,
know?
I get that.
That's where I disagree, but I do agree that it could certainly work and be a profitable project.
I keep wanting to call his name Baker Mayfield, who is a football player.
Yeah,
What's his name? What's his real name?
Migs.
Biggs?
Migs.
We already have
Mayfield.
a Biggs in Star Wars, buddy.
Yeah.
I called him Biggs earlier. All right. I literally for a while thought it was like Baker Mayfield, and I'm like, no.
You should just go with it. Just call him Baker.
Baker Mayfield.
But I also
Great
don't
college
think
cornerback.
Bill Burr is the type of actor/comedian that would sign a multi-year contract with Disney.
Ooh, if the money's there.
But they would be like,
Would he?
you have to do these things and appear at these places and say these things. And I think Bill Burr's humor might not work.
Well, comments, let us know. Do you want a Migs Mayfield TV show? I myself most certainly do.
I may have played into that a little bit just so I could get that Roger.
Hey.
You're keeping it. It's not
fine.
going anywhere unless the comments decide to just tear you down. We have to revoke that title from you. But I think you're going to keep it. I think that show would be awesome. I would love to see, like, they've always kind of teased a Star Wars like underworld show, and they actually had a video game. It was supposed to be a Boba Fett video game, kind of his like origin story, and it was that whole theme and something like just the whole underground world where all these, and Bad Batch is kind of that now, but for like doing this for adults, like real adult humor and not holding back punches. I don't know. I think that would be great.
Speaking of Bad Batch, which we have not been reviewing on here,
They haven't been.
I heard that this week's episode, or there's actually a double episode that came out this week.
Oh, a
was
double
like
feature.
really good. Like shooketh the universe good.
Have not seen
I
it.
am really excited to get back into it. I'm a couple episodes in, but I fell back behind.
Interesting. All right. Well,
I can't wait to rank it. Bad Batch has a special place in our hearts.
the bottom of our ranking list.
But it's special in that way.
It is. It was the first show we
We had fun ranking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean we move on to?
I guess that's it.
trivia time?
I guess this is it. All right, trivia time it is.
This is the way to trivia time!
Gotta love Charlie. Haven't seen him in forever, and all the folks who are new to the show, which most people I'd wager probably don't know who that guy is, but he was one of the original founding hosts of this show.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to our Book of Boba Fett reviews, you'll hear.
Hear his takes.
Yep.
He's got a lot
And
of.
he joined the Force and is no longer with us, and that is why he introduces trivia time.
He's mostly dead to us, but he is a Force ghost nonetheless. We
Yeah.
can't shake him. Just like Obi-Wan, Luke can't get rid of him.
I don't think we can say all that. He's not dead, people.
Just like Jeremy Renner's leg.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Jeremy Renner's leg is still, I believe, intact.
For now.
Jeez.
Stay tuned with Duel of the Rings to get up to date.
Can we just rename our show Jeremy Renner's leg?
Stay tuned for all Jeremy Renner updates next week.
I would love to have his leg as a guest on the show, not him.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
trivia.
Okay.
A trivia question for this week is the planet that we arrive at, where this Rhydonium factory is it Sunaka, Gorak, Thula, or Morak?
The second one. Gorak?
Gorak?
Yeah.
This is a good question. I should have been paying attention. I want to say Morak.
You're saying Morak, you saying Gorak? The correct answer is Morak.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought that was right.
I bet.
yeah.
You
KG
know,
knew.
Yeah, KG.
Just like you thought the story was phenomenal.
I did. What more do you want? That's all I'm asking. What I want more of is this episode. This has been a whole lot of fun for me as a host. I can't even imagine if you're a listener and you don't have to think of a hot take on the spot like we all did tonight.
But I bet you do have a hot take. Even if it doesn't have to do with this episode, I know you have a hot take because everybody in Star Wars does.
Yes.
And so that means that you should reach out to Duel of the Rings, whether it's through social media, through one of our YouTube videos, or go on through the website and
Discord.
submit your own hot take and let us debate it. Let us have
Yeah.
a chance to figure out where we fall.
You know what else? Share this episode with
Oh.
a friend. Like
Yes.
and subscribe, but share it with people to get people talking about Star Wars. I think that's a big thing, is sharing Star Wars with folks.
Well, and everyone's getting excited because season 3 of The Mandalorian's coming out. So I feel like a lot of people are rewatching season 2 to get back into it. So
Yeah.
let us be your partner, your guide.
How
your
are you going to objectively
shaman.
rank it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Where did we go wrong?
Where did we go wrong? If you jump in our live sessions, all you got to do is comment with our listeners here and just post, even like right now. Whenever. Just jump into these sessions, post your hot take. We'll debate it as we're talking about it.
We go live on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central if you ever want to join in on us.
It's a whole lot of fun.
And we're going to be at Star Wars Celebration. So
Oh,
if you've got your cool Duel of the Rings shirts like I'm wearing right now,
Order your fanny packs,
or
get your hats.
we'll sign them. We'll sign them.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would ask for my autograph.
Yeah, they would ask you to take a picture with a fan and Christian and I. Be like, hey, Brody, can you get a picture with me and my 2 favorite podcast co-hosts?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You're like, can we get a picture? Like, yes, of them. Yeah. And that's this week's episode of Duel of the Rings.
Join us next week when we go live to talk about Chapter 16, the finale of Season 2. I don't remember what it's called.
Wow. It's the Jedi one.
No, the Jedi was the...
Yeah, but it's the one with the Jedi.
Yeah.
The Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But KG and Jeffrey and Julian Lopez, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. Well, we will be back next week to break down the finale. And stay tuned. We have a couple very special guests for the first 2 weeks of The Mandalorian Season 3.
Ooh, so excited.
And if you follow any sort of Star Wars social media stuff, they're kind of a big deal. So we're really excited to announce who those guests are. But for all of you listeners, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Duel of the Rings. And we look forward to catching you next week for the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. See you then.
Ka-chow.
Got a good feeling about Duel of the Ranks? Then punch it down below to subscribe so that you never miss our latest ranks and hot takes from a galaxy far, far away. This is the way to some of the best Star Wars content out there. So, do or do not. There is no try, but do yourself a favor and do it.